Good afternoon to those of you who are stateside. Good evening to our beloved friends in Israel. This is still the continuation of a wonderful Shabbat here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. You can see the Caribbean Sea over my shoulder. Um, I thought it would be a wonderful time to celebrate here on the Shabbat. My favorite topic of all. So we are returning to the series called Coming Home. Uh, Most everything in the series Coming Home was written by or for my king, our king, Dode David. You can see even Wookie will lay down and say, "Yep, I just love it when we talk about Dode David. He is the numero uno." Uh, the thing that is so remarkable about this man, and we're going to continue on his 103rd Mizmor. I can't tell you for certain if it was written by Dode or about Dode, but I can tell you for certain that it was written either by Dode or about Dode. He is the most extraordinary man in human history. He is the one man that Yahweh said, "He is my son, I am his father." Yahweh called him his son on three occasions, and Dode would live three lives. Yahweh said, "He is my firstborn," which is important because he filled firstborn children in 33 CE. Yahweh said, "He is the Messiah" three times. He even said one time that I anointed him with my special oil. And he was called the Messiah three times because it was not only important to reinforce this because both of the previous accolades, Son of God and Messiah, were stolen, uh, really stolen by uh, those who wrote the Christian New Testament, particularly Paul, to create the myth of Jesus. Uh, Dode is the one who has been prepared for the mission that he set out to accomplish on Yahweh's behalf. He was anointed by Yahweh, and therefore he is the Messiah. He is also, it's important because not only did Christianity misappropriate Dode's titles to name their religion, to name themselves, to give Mr. Jesus a last name, if you will, just totally stolen. But God's people, rabbis, came up with a false Messiah as well. And it is equally wrong. Theirs was Bar Kokhba, son of a star, the star that Israel is so fond of. Doesn't belong to Doe. Doe did not have a song, but saw a star. But Bar Kokhba, he was named after that. He was son of a star. And it's really a shame. God looks down and sees people parading around that sign and know that it's symbolic of the individual, the fraud that the rabbis foisted on his people, and that it is that fraud that caused the concept of Palestine to be established that is haunting them today. It's that fraud that caused the diaspora and for Jews to be separated from the land. It is that fraud that led to the Holocaust that was so horrific for God's people. And it's that very fraud of that star that created Judaism. Rabbi Akiba is the father of Judaism, and he's the one that promoted the false Messiah under that star of Bar Kokhba. It is one of the great shames of the history of the Jewish people, and yet they wallow in it today as either practitioners of Judaism or cause to celebrate what the rabbis would have them do, and everything that's so constraining. The way that the Shabbat has become a tortured day of doing nothing as opposed to celebrating the relationship Yahweh established, as eating kosher as opposed to simply adhering to the instructions God gave regarding food, which were very short and very simple. And then the Badim, he even said, you can eat whatever you want, just do so intelligently and thoughtfully. Everything about the rabbis is a lie. They erased Yahweh's name. They separated Yehudim from their God. In doing so, they have replaced the Torah with their Talmud. Everything in Judaism is destructive. of the relationship Yahweh intended. And so this man, David, he is extraordinary. He is the actual Messiah, the one who has been anointed by Yahweh and the one who is returning. He is the Son of God. Uh, as he existed 3,000 years ago, as he was presented to fulfill Passover 2,000 years ago, as he will return 8 years from now. He is the chosen one. He is the former and returning king. He was a great prophet who not only wrote about his second of three lives as he would fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim, but also about his return and all of those who would speak out against him, who would rob him of all that he had achieved for God's people. He is the ultimate Gabor, the man who is courageous and capable for God and his people. So this is really an extraordinary individual. So as we pursue this and conclude God's statement regarding the 103rd Mizmor, we find that there are subconstants that as we move from mortal, and the previous line was about our mortality, to our immortality, Yah's enduring love and his continued respect for us and us for him is emphasized. God is committed to doing what is right, and he is devoted to the covenant family, closely examining, carefully considering the directions that Yahweh has provided regarding the terms and conditions of the covenant is essential for us to respond to him and receive the benefits through the Moed Mikre, so that we can be part of God's everlasting family. We are afforded through Passover, which is the doorway to life, continuing to live through matzah, removing the guilt of religion and politics from our souls, deposited in Sheol, never to be seen again, and through Bakurim, admitted into God's eternal family, so that we can be enriched and empowered by him. So as we continue, this is the next line of the 103rd Mizmor or song. It reads, "But the steadfast and enduring love, the unfailing generosity and mercy, the chesed, the magnanimous nature and the unmitigated affection, the overwhelming desire to favor us, lavishing us with the benefits associated with Yahweh." Yahweh is an accurate transliteration of the name of Elohah, God, guided by his Torah instructions. And all of this is forevermore, forever and ever. So, and the steadfast and enduring love and unfailing generosity and mercy, the chesed of Yahweh, is forever, enduring eternally and without end. Men olam ad olam is an everlasting and perpetual witness and is restoring for those who respect and revere him. Al Yare Hu, enabling those who appreciate his awesomeness to draw near. With his vindication and righteousness, one of the great words in all of the Hebrew language, sadak, here scribed in the feminine, sadaka. This is vindication that leads to our redemption. It is the affirmation that we can be right about God and therefore acquitted and righteous in God's presence, upright in God's before God's appearance as he will return. Tzedakah is to be correct, to be right, to be valid, to be vindicated. It is such a powerful term. It is to be honest and fair, to receive the benefits of his, of God being consistent and reliable. All on behalf of his children and his children's children, for those who observe, who shamar. So all of these benefits being acquitted and being right with God is a benefit of his covenant, Bereth, his family-oriented relationship, his household and home, his familial agreement and contract, this binding oath and promise, and who remember the most memorable of men, la zakar, who are mindful to act upon and engage in, la asha hem, to act upon, to engage in, to benefit from his directions and instructions, pekutim, his written records and advice, his precepts, his procedures and principles, his values and philosophy, and his especially prescribed guidance regarding the terms and conditions of his agreement. Mizmor lyrics to be sung, Psalm 103, 17 and 18. Boy, that is a great deal that is of benefit to us. Well, since God is unchanging, the nature of our relationship with him pivots on our willingness to be observant, to consider what he has said, and to derive direct benefit from expecting God to do exactly as he has promised. It is the only way for us to know who Yahweh is and what he is offering. What he expects from us in return is to be observant. And what we're asked to observe is the Torah, the prophets, the Mizmor, the Psalms, the Mashal, the word pictures that Dode, his beloved son, has painted, and the writings which draw our attention to this most important of all relationships. The writings focus, of course, on the life and times of David. He exists in the middle of God's portrait, where over 6,000 years we are asked to leave the garden and we return to it, with Dode living in exactly the middle of that time. And so the highest calling in life is to become part of the covenant family. Now, for this to occur, we must come to realize that Yah's mercy and his enduring love is directed towards those who come to know him by name, toward those who respect who he actually is and what he is offering, what he has said and done, particularly what he has accomplished through his son. And for those who seek to be right about him, considering what he has said in his testimony under his name, and rejecting what the religious have written about him. Before anyone came to appreciate Dode's role in fulfilling the Moedim, particularly Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, and again on Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations in our future, with Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim being 2,000 years now in our past. The Moedim are the living embodiment of the covenant. They bring the covenant to life. And I struggle to understand why Dode didn't enumerate or explain the purpose of each of the covenant's 5 requirements, or elaborate on the benefits that reveal the symbolism that is associated with each of the mikre, or how to specifically identify their purpose. But yet he did not actually discuss how they are all interrelated, not only in the terms of the Moed Mikre, but also the Bereth, the covenant. These things are inseparable. The Bereth benefits are delivered through the Moed Mikre, these invitations to be called out and meet with God, the restoring witnesses to the eternal testimony. They are literally hand in glove, and one delivers the benefit of the other. But heretofore, no one's ever explain that. I mean, God has given us all of the clues that we need, all of the evidence that we would require to deduce what I have shared with you. But nonetheless, I'm the first to do this for you. And so it's almost as if God recognized that there was enough communicated that Dode would realize that it was essential for him to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim in year 4000 Yod, 33 CE. And so he volunteered to do so because it was the right thing to do. And he also knew that not only would his people benefit from it, not only would his God be thrilled that he recognized the need to do so and then volunteered to accomplish what needed to be done, but because he also would benefit. And he benefits by the fact that heretofore Jews have been impossible to lead. And Moshe gave up on you, literally gave up, said, I cannot do this anymore. God, you might as well kill me because these people are absolutely impossible. Dode gave up. I mean, by the end of his life, he had hunkered down with Bathsheba and didn't really have much more to say. You just ran him ragged with, particularly with the Absalom rebellion. And if these two great men can't stand what you had done to them, it's a lot to ask for this one to do it. But nonetheless, I'm going to, and I'm going to see it through because I respect what Moshe and Dode have accomplished. And I see them as the man who explained the walk, who talked the talk, and the man who walked the walk. That is their relative position together. And then my job is to put all of that together so you could see and understand and appreciate what Moshe conveyed to us about the covenant and how the Bereth covenant would be fulfilled through the benefits of the Moed Mikre, and how it would be the one that he spoke of in the 18th chapter who would come to deliver those benefits. And even if you miss that in Numbers 11, Dode is specifically named. He is the beloved of God, the El Dode. And in that same discussion, I'm also named as the one who supports what Dode has accomplished. So it is essential that we understand how Dode came to recognize the role that he would need to play by properly assessing the Torah. And it was essential that we now understand and appreciate what Dode has done and convey that to God's people at this time, because one of the things that Dode made very clear in his testimony to us is that his people would reject what he had accomplished. They would ignore it. They would bypass it. They would counterfeit it even. And that's exactly what they have done. And what Dode knew also is that Yahweh would resolve that through his herald, that God would find an individual that would correct the record, would be the first to understand that it was Dode, not Jesus. There was no Jesus that actually fulfilled Passover by being crucified in 33 CE, and that Dode is the Zeroah, the Passover lamb, and that Dode is the Messiah. He is the Son of God who has been here twice already and is going to return. And so Dode would celebrate this awareness that there would be someone capable of understanding this, who would be bold enough to take the lashes of the religious as they try to defend the indefensible and proclaim the truth about him, and do so boldly so that there would be a remnant of God's people, a sufficient number of them, that would not only recognize but celebrate all that Dode has accomplished as the former and returning king, as the initial and subsequent Messiah and Son of God, who opened life's door by fulfilling Passover, who made us Sadak, right with God again, perfecting us on Matzah, so that we could become the children of the covenant. So while Dowd spoke vociferously of his father and the covenant, he actually never correlated God's timeline with the events he and others had and would fulfill, although he gave us the exact date that he would fulfill Chagmatzin 33 CE. And when you recognize that from Daniel and you do the math, now you have the cornerstone, if you will, of the timeline. And it is in April of 33 CE that Dowd fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakorim. And then you understand the purpose of the Yobel, which is a 50-year period, and that everything with Yahweh unravels and unfolds under a 40 times something. So 40 Yobel, you go back 40 Yobel, and now you have the event that caused Dowd to recognize that he should be doing this, which is the dress rehearsal for Passover, where Abraham and Yishak went out up Mount Moriah. And when Yahweh told Abraham, do not sacrifice your son, your only son whom you love, I'm going to provide the lamb. And he did, his son, David, whose corporeal body fulfilled Pesach. Exactly 40 Yobel, 2,000 years later, and exactly the same place. And then you can go forward in time from that event, going from 1968 BCE to 33 CE, exactly 40 Yobel to 40 Yobel. Yobel is the time that all debts are forgiven, all captives are freed. This is freed from religion, freed from politics, freed from the caste system of bondage. All debts would be, all guilt is exonerated, and that everyone can return to the promised land. 40 Yobel from 33 CE is 2033, which is when the last three Moed Mikre will be fulfilled, just as the first three were fulfilled. In year 4000 Yah, in 33 CE, the last three will be fulfilled. Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukkah, all in 2033. So these are the things that we were given all of the information to deduce, but heretofore had not been specified in such concrete fashion. So the answer is that Yahweh didn't want his plan enumerated and summarized, and it is because he preferred revealing everything we would need to know to figure it out without handing it all to us on a silver platter, because he wants us to think our way to him. And he wants people today who are willing to reject the rabbinical rubbish and to accept what he has given us as information so that they can think their way to him and change as a result. Embrace him by name, accept what his son has achieved for us, understand the timeline, and therefore the time crunch we are now under. Now, if that is the reason that Dowd didn't share what I have delineated on your behalf, then perhaps, I guess there's always the possibility that I've gone too far, but I don't think that's even remotely possible, because I was given 32 years from the beginning, just 24 years to this moment, to do what heretofore has been impossible, to get the attention of Israel. And Israelis are bright people with average IQs of 115. Now, God chose someone that was brighter than the average Jew, and that's saying something, but my IQ is beyond 175. And when you have that combined with 24 years of devoted study, where I have focused on Yahweh's testimony from sunrise to sunset and beyond for 24 straight years. And then you have Yahweh providing, as he said he would, for his choder, this stem off the main branch that is Dowd, the sucker giving life to the fallen stump that is Israel. He was very clear and saying, that he would afford him the seven spirits of Yahweh, and specifically intelligence and wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and then this unique ability to be the first that would see the whole picture and understand how all the pieces fit together and how they're interrelated, such that he could be emboldened with the spirit of Gabor, of courage and confidence, uniquely capable and willing, able to see this through. And so with everyone giving up on God's people, God himself giving up on you, and having now 32 years from beginning to end, God reached out to me on Towrah in 2001. And we are now speaking to you after the celebration of Shabat in the last year prior to it being fulfilled in 2025, here now in June. I have exactly 12 months to get your attention if you want to participate in this Shabat harvest and miss the time of Israel's troubles. I have exactly 8 years to get your attention should you want to participate in the Teruah gleaning. And if you wish to avail yourselves, if you pass on that, of the sacrifice of the red heifer. And therefore, I have to appeal to your intelligence. God picked someone who is a one-trick pony. I've only got one thing that I can offer you. I can't sing, I can't dance. Nope, I'm got one thing that I can offer you. Intelligence. I can speak to you using evidence and reason, and I can take you from where you are to God himself using wisdom, using understanding, based upon knowledge and making the necessary connections for you to understand, to comprehend all of this. If that does not work with you, then not only don't I have an answer, God doesn't have an answer, because he's all in on this approach. So here's where we are. Now, had it not been for 5 things, I might have withdrawn my enumerating and summarizing in my assessments of God's plan and my explanation and of the conditions and the benefits of the covenant and its interrelationship with the mikre, these invitations to be called out and meet with God. I might have withheld how these events play out in time. And the reasons that I have not done so are, as I will share with you, first and foremost, since Yahweh's testimony is irrefutable, my conclusions based upon a rational analysis of it are sound. They're right. They are correct. They're easily validated. So what I'm telling you is absolutely and unequivocally true. And you can affirm it with your own investigation. And that really is what makes Dode Dode. He's right. He's Sadak. What I'm sharing with you is accurate Sadak. And since you know the truth, it would be devastating to withhold it, not to share it, not to allow those who have been played for fools by Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, those even played for fools as MAGA and Marxists, to know the absolute truth about God, no matter how unpopular it might be. Second, having never actually comprised a summary of Yahweh's plan, nor even considered simplifying his message to humankind, and as one so enamored with Yahweh's words that I am considered more verbose than trite, I don't think I could have made it easy. I am quite certain that with my love of words, my profound respect for learning and teaching, for my passion to discover all that there is to know in Yahweh's testimony and then communicate it as completely and accurately as possible. If God wanted uh, it dumbed down and he wanted a summary version, I can assure you he would not have chosen me. I am absolutely the wrong guy to dumb it down for you. If God wanted it complete, he wanted it accurate, he wanted it intellectually stimulating, he wanted it easily validated, he wanted it all interconnected so that you go from knowing to the ultimate prize, understanding, then Yahweh picked the right guy. And since I'm that guy, I'm going to go with the realization that Moshe and Dode and my good buddy Yashaya, even Yoel and Malachi and Zechariah, Hosea as well, Shamuel, we all share this in common. We all have a great and profound love for words and for not only learning and developing a basis of knowledge of what God has said, but making the connections to understand and then sharing what we have learned. If that's not your thing, then you probably won't like Yahweh very much either, because you think I'm verbose. I can compete in verbosity with, and I have written more than Moshe and Dode and Yashaya combined. And that's a lot. But I can't compete with Yahweh and choose not to. And I'm not competing with the Moshe and Dode and Yashaya either. I'm a conveyor of what they conveyed. I am a lover of what they came to love. I'm an advocate of all they advocated. Third, most of the many thousands of insights that I have been able to derive from Yahweh's words are unique in the sense that rather than building off of what other men have discerned, I have been inspired by the one who inspired the prophets. And all of these profoundly important revelations, from the first to the last of them, many thousands of them, are all consistent with Yahweh's nature, and they all resonate within those who know him. I have deduced thousands upon thousands of unique insights regarding God, derived exclusively from the text that God conveyed through his prophets. Now, why would God enable that if he didn't want me to share it with you at this time? And I'm not one who keeps secrets. My wife always laughs at me. If you want something blabbered all over, tell it to Craig. He's the first person that will go and share it, because he can't keep a secret for 30 seconds. Now, that's true. I am transparent. What I have learned, I share. I don't think God has any secrets, by the way. I think God's told us everything that was valuable for us to know, and that we're in a position where we can deduce what he wanted us to discern so that we can share it with his people. Fourth, I am the first since Dode to assess and explain the importance of the role Yahweh's son, his beloved son, Dode, the Bakor, firstborn, the Messiah, the anointed Messiah, played. I'm the one who came to appreciate Dode's Mizmor, recognizing that Dode David is a first-class, extraordinary Nabi. He's also a lyricist, and he's absolutely a prophet. He is the ultimate, from God's perspective, Melech king and counselor. He is Shemach, the branch. He is Ra'ah, the shepherd. He is Zeroah, the sacrificial lamb. And he is the Kaf, the very hand of God in fulfilling the Moedim to provide the benefits of the Bereth covenant. And yes, I was the first to apprehend all of this, that it is Dod who is calling Yisrael and Yehudah back home because he opened the door to life. He provided the means of perfecting them so that they can live in God's presence. And then he signed our adoption papers into the covenant family. Now, fifth, the affirmation that we are where we ought to be, doing what we should be doing, was provided with the prophetic pronouncements regarding the choder, this smart sucker, if you will, that God has offered to his people at this time, who is ascribed the responsibility of writing his nesh, this banner, which is called Yada Yahowah, God's own term, which is being lifted up at this time. And now we have even more emphatic confirmation with the Nakri, this observant and discerning foreigner who is so responsive. And therefore, it is more likely a matter of simply different roles for different times, which is why I've taken God's testimony so much further than has anyone else before me. Same text, same message, just putting all of the pieces together for the first time, because this is the last time that it can be done. So while I have enumerated and explained what Dod has made possible for us to know and then capitalize upon, my hope is that I have not gone too far and made the journey sufficiently overwhelming to deter those who are dulled by religion. And yet, so I want it to be overwhelming, literally, for those who are dulled by religion and politics. I don't want them. God does not want them in the covenant family, does not want them in eternity. So I want it to be beyond their capacity to sit down and to process evidence and reason. But I don't want it to be too overwhelming for those who want to be part of the covenant, who are not religious and political. But I don't want it so easy for them that they can easily, readily, quickly deduce what needs to be affirmed for them instantly to be part of this covenant. Because what I have found is for those who don't embody it, who don't process it, who don't make it part of their lives, who don't commit themselves to it and to sharing it and to literally exuding it, such that there was nothing that would preclude them from staying the course and doing everything that is possible for them to convey Yahweh's testimony. We don't want part of the covenant. You know, we came to a situation back in December of last year where there were people who were on the fringe and some people who seemed to be deeply involved in communicating God's testimony, who were lured away by a psychotic woman. And one of the lessons that we learned there is a covenant family is comprised of people who stay the course. We have to mirror Yahweh's approach. We have to stay the course. Listen, even when Moshe and Dod gave up on Yisrael, they didn't give up on God. And they continued to stay involved. And now when you look at the support that this message has on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, it's overwhelming. People are just enormously grateful to have this opportunity to learn about God, to be part of his covenant family, and to share what we have learned and to reinforce it. And there is nothing that's going to stop them between now and the time of the Shabat harvest. So I know that I have not made it too easy and I have not made it too hard. And I think that's exactly where God wants us to be. So if you are Yisrael or a Yehud, the intellect that I have stirred in this process and plumbing the insights that Dod has articulated throughout his presentation of his lives, I know it will appeal to you. If you're willing to forego religion and politics and be open to the truth about God, what I have to say to you will resonate within you just as surely as Dode is one of you. Now, this said, I ought not have worried. You see, Chesed, mercy, is written uh, in Paleo Hebrew, uh, telling us in such a way that there is a fence comprised of thorns outside of the doorway of God's home, keeping the unwanted out of the family. So you have this word chesed that is written such that um, there's this wall of thorns is precluding those who should be forestalled on their desire to enter. Now, here is yet another example of Hamashiach's brilliance. This statement can be read as an ode to Dode's father, or as an acclamation of his father's appreciation for his son's service. Both ways and both would be appropriate. Yahweh, again, the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God, as directed by his Torah teaching, has prepared and established Kun, has formed and fashioned, and is supportive of his throne. And when God speaks of a throne, it's not for him. God doesn't need a throne. He doesn't need to impress us with who he is. He doesn't even try to do so. The throne is for his son. It's for Dode. And even for us, because Dode is extraordinarily desirous of sharing with all of us. He even says the joy, the pride, the whole value of being a king is in his family. And this is what we are contributing to our king. So that this has been prepared and established, his throne in the spiritual realm of the heavens, with his sovereign realm serving as a proverb, as a mashal, revealing what he and it are like, Dode and this throne, by drawing pictures with words, doing so in every possible way. Mizmor lyrics to be sung, Psalm 103:19. Now, while it's true that Yahweh has established Dode's seat of authority in the spiritual realm, since it is in his nature to share everything with us, Dode will sit there. After all, the most vivid pictures of life in heaven and the kingdom of Dode were painted by the author of the Mashal, the Proverbs. And therefore, this is likely written in the lowercase his, speaking of Yahweh is offering this throne, this seat of honor to Dode, which he says often. I mean, one of the most beautiful places is my favorite prophecy, 2 Samuel 7, where he says the throne of Dode is going to be established forever. And in the most beautiful song ever written, the 89th Mizmor, which is a song where Yahweh wrote the lyrics to acclaim his great love and appreciation of his son. It also speaks of that throne for Dode David to exist forever. It's Dode's throne. He is the returning king of forevermore and of everything. Dode's royal reign is being established by Yahweh. And so this is Yahweh saying, this is my respect for my son. Yeah, God can't act alone, because if he did, he would destroy the entire purpose of the covenant and of creation and of life and of humans in the first place, of the garden. He would destroy it all, and he would become inconsistent with his prime motive. And therefore, God chooses to work through selected individuals. And the most important of those is not Moses, not by a long shot. It's David. And that's why I'm here, to let you know that Dode is the apple of Yahweh's eye. He is the ultimate Yehud. He is the firstborn. He is the one. When Yahweh says he's coming back with him, he draws our attention in Zechariah 12 to say that all of the attention is going to be on Dode, and everyone's going to be crying out for the firstborn, who, by the way, God says was pierced. And he was, because he endured crucifixion in 33 CE. All the way through, God is thrilled with what his son has achieved. God even says that when he returns with Dode's going to be as brilliant as the sun. He doesn't say, yeah, he doesn't say, I'm going to be as brilliant as the sun. He says, my son's going to be as brilliant as the sun. And he doesn't even say, I'm going to return as God. He says, my son is going to return Elyon as God. This is God's way of communicating. I mean, there are hundreds upon hundreds of prophecies that explain the role that I am playing on behalf of Father and Son for the benefit of God's people. And God shares them all and speaks so highly of what we're doing, even endorsing Yada Yahowah, because it is God's style to work through people and to appreciate what they have done. It's just who Yahweh is. Now, painting pictures with words, mashal, is something at which Dode was particularly adept, as was the father. And often it is the only way to convey what we cannot actually see from our current perspective. Heaven is a perfect example, using terms common to our three-dimensional material existence. Yahweh's prophets have tried to describe the spectacular appearance of what is going to be like in the seventh dimension. But frankly, it is well beyond our current comprehension, is far removed from what we can perceive as three dimensions are from seven. Now, that being the case, Yahweh has shared something which can help us visualize the unseen. Aspects of the Garden of Eden were modeled after heaven. Did you know that? Consider what happened there, especially the interactions between Yahweh and Adam, and then expand the boundaries of that garden to the size of the universe, 93 billion light years in distance, at least from what we can perceive without light leaving us faster than the speed of light, so that it is beyond our grasp. Now, this provides a glimpse of what we're going to experience camping out with Yahweh and the other members of the covenant family throughout time and space. We will be guided by his words, even his Torah teaching, which will then be integrated within us. We're going to be able to observe the Shabat and attend the Mikre, celebrating both as they were intended, even though we are going to be able to maneuver in time. We'll be able to stop time and to expand time. But we will no longer have to endure any form of religion or politics, lies or liars, abuse or abusers, because they did not exist in the garden and we're being brought to the garden. Just as we are afforded the options of assigning heaven's throne, although I'm pretty clear that Yahweh is saying that it belongs to Dode, and the kingdom to Yahweh or Dode, although I think that's exceedingly clear as well, that it's going to be the kingdom of Dode. God's made that statement obvious to us on numerous occasions. The fact of the matter is that Dode is the ultimate Gabor. He is the man who has the courage and compassion and capability of doing things no one else can possibly do. He is the ultimate in courage and confidence. But he's not the only one with courage. and confidence representing God. So this Malak and the Gabor in this next statement could represent Dod, or those who are bringing to your attention all that Dod has accomplished. However, since Dod would have had no influence over the spiritual realm at this time, it's far more likely that this was addressing the most courageous and capable of Yahweh's human witnesses, and that would be those that are sharing this Mizmor with you. It says the Malak, messenger, this witness, the envoy and representative, that you should choose as this Malak, this spiritual messenger. We're being told that you should choose to convey your support for the benefit and the blessings of this relationship, Barak, of your own free will. Extol the marvelous nature of everything that is associated with the benefits and blessings that Yahweh is providing. So it concludes with Yahweh's name. Then it says, his Gabor, his most courageous and capable man, his Gabor, those who fight valiantly, one who fights prominently for him, the most impactful leader, the one with the ability, the authority, and the acuity, koach, with the potential, resources, resolve, aptitude, and strength, the determination and power, and should be acted upon. Do what needs to be done in this regard. Know that you can accomplish what needs to be accomplished based upon his word, by actually listening to the voice conveying the audible sound of his message as it is delivered to you. Mizmor, lyrics to be sung, Psalm 103:20. Leading by example. Wow. We have an issue with Asher here. Asher, stop it. I'm sorry, we made such progress with Asher not biting herself, but in this particular situation, she is trying to tear one of her paws up, and that's a shame because we made, just as I say, tremendous strides with her and the medication that we're giving her and the bath that she is taking now, and we're very encouraged that she is on the mend. But right there, she was tearing herself to pieces, and I care for Asher, and I can't allow her to do that because of the great harm she does to herself when she bites herself in her paws that way. So excuse my intervening here, but we had just completed Mizmor, lyrics to be sung, Psalm 103:20. So leading by example, Dod was Yahweh's most accomplished Malak. But this greater luminary has a Malak who serves to convey God's message about him. Both are acclaimed Gabor. Yahweh will say of specifically and many times that Dod's Bashar Herald is a Gabor, and he is providing a witness to the greatest Gabor who would ever live, Dod. So speaking to those who would follow in Dod's footsteps, God's prolific messenger, his Malak at this time, is also courageous and encouraging everyone to devote their lives to understanding and then sharing the benefits associated with being around Yahweh, extolling the virtues while affirming our support for Father and Son. having the courage to do so. Those who have been blessed with the koach, the acuity and aptitude, the resources and the resolve to encourage God's people to capitalize upon what Father and Son have achieved while listening to God, are providing a voice, a coal, proclaiming the message as witnesses, as even malach, as messengers. That is the difference between life and death, between being expelled once again and being allowed into the garden. Now, I've been doing this to the extent I'm capable, using the resources at my disposal and with Yahweh's support and the support of his 7 Ruach since Towrah in 2001. And while I was never alone, it has been a delight to experience the many ways that Yahweh has found to contribute to our collaboration such that we are effective and productive, accomplishing his goals. The team of the Covenant family and the contributors have made this possible and devoted and brilliant. But there is not one among us who would claim that we are deserving of the titles Malach or Gabor. But that doesn't keep Yahweh from ascribing them, because that's just the way he is. And, to some extent, when you consider what we're up against and how much confidence and courage, boldness and dedication is required to battle against religious and political Israel, it takes some serious Gabor to make that happen. And we are, after all, representing the ultimate Gabor and David. And I can't imagine that God would have a wimp serve as the herald for his courageous son. Can you? Well, perhaps I am being a bit overdramatic in that there will likely be many more affirmations like this, but one thing is certain: Yahweh's malach, his messenger, his witness, and his Gabor, courageous and capable men. And in this case, from God's perspective, the Gabor are his Zeroah, Moshe, Dod, and Yada. And all have been blessed with koach. They're determined to prevail. Our strength, our confidence, our fortitude to work with our Father on behalf of his Son and the children of Israel all comes from listening to the message that has been conveyed to us, and it continues to this very moment. As has been the case with Dod's previous 2 statements, we can identify these Shabat with the heavenly host, or we can conclude that Dod is now addressing a broader spectrum of those who would intervene in the last days with courage and compassion and conviction to make this message known. The Messiah is speaking of those who will be serving in the last days, making all that he has contributed available to God's people before it's too late. Now, here's the next line. Every one of his Shabat, his supporting cast, those serving him, the willing conscripts who have been mustered and sent out to assist in this battle, all of them, you should choose to convey your support for the blessings and for the benefits, and of your own free will acknowledge what is being extolled on behalf of Yahweh. those rendering assistance and serving him, that would be Yahweh. Those performing a service and ministering in his interests, attending to what pertains to him, engage to accomplish. They act on behalf of the benefits that can be derived, laboring and performing based upon his will, his ratzon. Mizmor 103:21. All of his ma'aseh, workers, accomplishing his goal. Everyone who labors on his behalf, you should choose to convey your support for the benefit of Yahweh. We are serving Yahweh. We are showing our support for Yahweh. We are engaged on his behalf. We are working with God. And this God, our God, the God, has a name, and it is Yahweh. And we are to do this in all of the places his influence is felt, and his mashal, word pictures, are considered. And that is our life. That is what we have been asked to do. Every place that Yahweh is prominent and understood, distinguished in this way. It concludes, my soul, my nephesh, my consciousness is the essential and living aspect of my persona. And it commends and adores Barak. Everything that is associated with Yahweh. Yahweh. To know him is to cherish his name, to acknowledge his name, to love everything that is associated with the name Yahweh. Lyrics to be sung, concluding 103:22. An accomplished speaker, such as Dowd, will tell their audience what they're going to tell them. They will tell them, and then they will summarize what they have told them. Dowd instructed us this way. He introduced and communicated this psalm, explaining that the service that his nephesh soul would provide in conjunction with his father, Yahweh, that it would deliver salvation to us, that it would be the way that we are redeemed, would serve God's people now and in this way. No matter what Dowd has done, what he has accomplished, regardless of the merit of the sacrifice, irrespective of his bravery and compassion, if his fulfillment of Chag Matzah and Kippurim are not heralded as they are at this moment, in this way, in this forum, as part of the Yahowah blog, no one benefits. As powerful and capable as are our Father and his Son, they are still relying upon capable witnesses and supportive co-workers to convey the message of the Bereth and the Mikre to Yisrael and to Yahudim who have forgotten them. One of Yah's most strident criticisms of mankind is that very few of us are aware of what he and his Son have done on our behalf. The scope of their work is so seldom considered that it is as if you were to ask a random individual to itemize the most important accomplishment. Most would not recognize either name, Yahweh or Dowd, even God's people. And very few would know. In fact, they would be clueless as to what Yahweh and Dowd have actually achieved. Not one in a million. could give you the answer. And it's the single most important answer in human history. Or they would not know why it's relevant to them, and yet is the essence of our salvation. And that is ironic, because those who seek to worship God and who claim to know him haven't invested the time to listen to anything he has to say. They don't know that God doesn't want to be worshiped. He doesn't want you to pray to him. He doesn't want you to bow down to him. He wants you to know him as Yahweh. He wants you to appreciate what he and his son have achieved for you. He wants you to embrace the terms of the covenant and to attend the invitations that he has made to call you out of this world and into his home. By contrast, Dode's words represent something that should resonate with us and echo throughout time, because he came to know before any of us that he was the one who would make this sacrifice, and then he wrote prophetically of it. He was right, he was true, he was genuine, even appreciated by God, even though his people would deny him. And now it's time for us to do our part and bring our attention back to him. If the places were vast where Yahweh was clearly known and his influence was felt by many, what a wonderful world it would be. But it isn't that way. So our mission is to share the story of Father and Son, Yahweh and Dode, with those interested in investing the time to read the books of Yada Yahowah, to listen to the words of the Yahweh blog. And therefore, this is a life well lived. Now, that said, Dode did not write, and we should not speak to the world at large. There is no reason to strain our voice or dissipate our effect. We seek to convey Yahweh's testimony to the receptive, to the open-minded. And so now, may your soul be nourished by this summary of these words. It begins, this is for Dode. It is to Dode. It's concerning the beloved and about approaching through Dode. My soul, my consciousness, and the essential aspect of my persona, which can be observant and responsive, that which conveys my personality, character, and attributes, and all of my experiences, you have chosen to appreciate and to acclaim, sharing the benefits of the association with me, along with all that is written about me and that is true within me, through and accompanied by the set apart name. Mizmor 103 begins. My soul, your desire is to commend and adore, being thankful for the benefit of sharing the blessings that are associated with Yahweh. You will never overlook, nor ignore, not forget any of his accomplishments and resulting benefits. Who forgives? Who removes culpability from consideration so as to pardon? All of your errant thinking, your wrongdoing, your erroneous statements, and your distorted opinions. And who promotes restoration for everything which otherwise incapacitates and sickens you of all of your diseases and disabilities? Who is the kinsman redeemer who delivers your life? Who is the family member who paid the price for you to live? removed from the dungeonous slime pit of corruption? Who envelops you and crowns you in loyal love, steadfast devotion, and unfailing kindness, in addition to compassion and mercy? Who abundantly satisfies with that which is beneficial and good, highly desirable for you, beautifully adorning you? She, on your own initiative, restores and renews, becoming similar to the eagle of your youth as children. Yahweh does what is right, engaging honestly and fairly, showing good judgment and executing justice on behalf of all who are unjustly exploited, defrauded, and deceived. He made known his ways to Moshe through his interactions with the children of Yisrael. Oh, and they were obnoxious. Mizmor 103, now through the seventh statement. Yahweh is compassionate. He is merciful, long-suffering and loyal, slow to anger, and abounding in love, overwhelmingly kind and steadfastly loyal. He will not continually quarrel with someone, subjecting his preeminence to unending arguments, nor will he eternally serve as a frustrated caretaker, tending to those who displease him, maintaining the status quo as a disappointed and irritated observer, all while being resentful. It is not according to the ways that we mislead and are misleading, the ways that we incur guilt, that he acts or engages with us, nor according to our errant thinking, our erroneous statements, or invalid opinions, that he deals with us. Indeed, for just as the heavens and the spiritual realms are elevated in scale and dimensions beyond our comprehension, above and beyond the material realm, so too is his steadfast and enduring love, his unfailing generosity and mercy toward those who respect and revere him. As far as the sunrise in the east, where its increasing light is from the setting sun in the west, where darkness follows, so too, removed from us are our revolting and rebellious behaviors, all taken away because of what Dode has done. As a father shows tender affection and genuine love for his children, Yahweh genuinely loves and overtly favors those who respect him. For it is certain he is cognizant of our inclinations and our frame of reference, even the purpose for which we were created, remembering that we are indeed quite literally comprised of and naturally existing based upon earth and matter, particulate, carbon ash. Mortal man Enoch's days are like the abode of dried grass, like the flowery nature of an engraved plaque on a shimmering memorial. In the open and broad way, it therefore reflects the light which and the scene that surrounds it. Yet, truthfully, when the spirit passes over it, then it is no more, and the place is no longer recognizable and remembered. But the steadfast and enduring love, the unfailing generosity and mercy of Yahweh is forever and ever, enduring eternally without end for those who respect and revere him, with his vindication and righteousness on behalf of his children and his children's children, for those who observe his covenant, his family, and who remember the most memorable of men, and who act and engage based upon his directions and instructions. Yahweh has prepared and established his throne in the spiritual realm of the heavens, and with his sovereign realm serving as a proverb, revealing what he is like by drawing pictures with words in everything that he has conveyed. His malach, his messenger, and his witness, you should choose to convey your support for the benefit of Yahweh. His Gabor, his most courageous and capable of men, who fight valiantly and prominently for him, his most impactful leaders and influential individuals, those with the ability, the authority, the acuity, the aptitude, resources, and resolve, must act upon and engage in everything that is conveyed in his word, carrying it out by actually listening through the voice, conveying the audible sound of his message. Every one of his supporters serving him, the willing conscripts who have been mustered and sent out to assist in this battle, you should choose to convey your support for the benefit of Yahweh. Those rendering assistance and serving him, they engage to accomplish his will. All of his ma'aseh workers accomplishing his goals, those pursuing his agenda, you should choose to convey your support for the benefit and the blessings of Yahweh in all the places, in every home, dwelling place, site, and in every direction that his influence is felt and his mashal, his word pictures, are considered. My soul, having chosen to appreciate and acclaim, is now associated with Yahweh and will always be. And what was done and achieved so brilliantly is now being brought to light again. It's been my great pleasure to share this concluding program from Coming Home here in this beautiful ocean studio, ascribed by and written about my beloved King, your King, our Messiah, the very Son of God, our Savior, David. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the YAHOWAH blog.